Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm just on my way to go in and check on Matthew, who's been getting on with the install I showed you the other day. So at the farm / former pub on the old railway line. I've left him to get on with it for the last couple of days, and he's made good progress. You know, that's a point I want to touch on a little bit, that Matthew's obviously gone through his apprenticeship program now, and he's getting 2 to 3 years for being out of his time. And I think it's important that the new entrants into the industry get that period of time with someone mentoring them. It's not just a case of you finish your qualifications and off you go. Obviously, in the course of the apprenticeship, you're building your skills and your knowledge and your confidence to be a competent electrician, if you like. But you don't have the full range of skills and the ability to work under pressure on your own, and it's vital that work's getting checked by somebody who's been doing it for a long time. And Matthews works well under that system. He's at the stage now where, to be honest, most of his work doesn't need checking. It's bang on. He's obviously qualified through the apprenticeship route. He's done his 2391. He's done his EV course. He's done his iPath. The ability is there. His communication and dealing with the customers is spot on. He's knuckled down and solved the only problem he had, which is typical of any electrician. It was the odd complaint to do with his tidying up. So we did have a couple of issues there, and now that's all sorted out. He's you know, he's an asset to my business. So I think that's a good thing for people to focus on when they are taking apprentices into the business. That it's often the block to that is the cost, or the perceived cost. And I accept, especially in the current climate, that it's a massive commitment, and things are going to slow down for the first 6 months to a year at least. And obviously you have to give people the option, not the option, but the position to be able to do work themselves. So I was watching Nick Bundy's video the other day, and he had Adam installing a consumer unit, and that's fantastic because Nick's there with him. If there's any questions or issues, he's right there at his side to put him straight if needed. Likewise, the whole job's supervised in the right way, so you know the customer's been kept safe. But it's really important that people are given the opportunity to demonstrate the skills, and they're not just, you know, used as cheap labour for slinging containment up in a wall and carrying stuff to and from the van. And Nick is actually somebody who, with the apprentice 1-to-1 thing I've started, would be somebody who I would hold up as a role model to that system. He's got a small business. He's made the step of taking on an apprentice in Adam, who looks to be really thriving and enjoying it. And you know, that's the kind of thing I want to see encouraged in the wider industry. So the reason I've started doing these videos is because Matthew's recently gone down that road. So I want to talk about and demonstrate how now, for me, that's helping me in my business. So I've got another qualified electrician who can take a workload on, which frees me up to be able to do more with sales, have a bit more time to do things like apprentice 1-to-1, manage the rest of the team, and make sure my business is prospering because of apprentices, and not drained from them. I think it's a misconception, and often it's because people see that as the reason not to do it. And yeah, so that's the purpose of this channel, really. And if you haven't checked it out, I started apprentice 1-to-1 up there in lockdown, just because people getting in touch with me saying they'd lost their jobs and they couldn't get apprentice places. So I helped out for you guys, and word kind of spread. And before I know it, Napit are involved. The guys at EGT picked it up. We've got manufacturers like Super and Klein, all sorts of big names in the electrical industry who are offering encouragement and their help. So there's Gary Hayes, I've said before, has helped out in the group, and Craig O'Neill. There's Adrian Davey as well from the training sector, and a whole host of passionate individuals and employers who just want to help. And even now, the people are still finding jobs. We had one yesterday. A guy got a job over in North Wales. And while it's more difficult now, for sure, there's still the enquiries coming in, roughly 20-30 a day. It's more difficult to get people those positions. It's not impossible, and I'm going to keep trying. who knows what's going to happen with lockdown too. But before we jump into looking at Matthew as well, I want to just briefly cover the AFDDs. We talked about it on Monday Club last night, and if you wasn't aware, I'll mention it later on in this video too, but Nick's on there with us, and we discussed a bit about AFDDs. I know that it seems to be that it's for under 32 amps, and it excludes lighting circuits and other safety critical circuits like fire alarms and emergency lighting and some motor circuits and whatnot. And obviously it's just a draft, these aren't actual new regulations. But for me, it's a really difficult one, because while AFDDs are a safety device that could save lives when it's in use in an installation, we have to factor in the cost of installing them. And my concern is that if you're going to have consumer units that are over £1,000, for example, how many of your regular domestic clients are going to be willing to spend 1,500 quid, £2,000 on a new consumer unit when they might only have an old wooden backed fuse wire board or no RCD protection at all? And these are perhaps the kind of people who would benefit the most from having that protection on their electrical system. And it could be a roadblock to those upgrades taking place. So while we can legislate that landlords and such have to do certain things, it's really difficult on a domestic homeowner to impose that onto them. Probably it's never going to happen realistically. So yeah, that's my concern with that one. So while the AFD provides that increased protection, the fact that installing it might deter people from having consumer units installed at all is something that we need to look at as an industry before we mandate that in regulations, is my opinion. And whilst that's a factor, and whilst the price point of them is so high, I think we need to be mindful of who we may be excluding from having their electrical systems improved. So I just wanted to cover that one quickly. There's loads of other stuff on there on the draft, and I think it's open for review to November, December time. The website's playing up at the moment. I'm going to look at it at the weekend and put some comments back in. If you are interested in it, go check out the BSI site, create a free membership, and you can do the same yourselves. So you can read it, offer opinion back, and they're supposed to look at it and consider it. So I would recommend anybody go off and do that. But anyway, let's get into the video with Matthew, and we'll go and see what he's up to. Cheers. So we are back on site. Matthew's been busy doing all the work on this one. It's had not a lot to do with me inside. So I'll spin you around. You can see here, these are the customer spec where they wanted the sockets, so chop those in and put some bonding fill in. So there was a pull cord in up here over the old bed, so we put some two-way switching in. There didn't used to be a switch at that door, and now there is over there. Again, a lot of these switches were existing, but they were in trunking and on the surface, so now they're chopped in nice and tidy. Same with the sockets on there. And again over there there's another pull cord, but we're going to tidy that away into the loft space eventually. It's just left safe for the time being. And again, chopping the switches in. There's other stuff that's been done downstairs, but the customer's in, so I won't go down and show you all of that. I will wait until the kitchen work's finished anyway. Matthew's just been testing. Had a little loving last night with Nick, didn't you, Matthew? Is he your best mate?
Famous.
You what?
He's famous.
He's famous. Do you send me a loving?
I love him. I wish I was Adam.
You wish you were Adam? There you go, Nick. If Adam's not up to it, Matthew's willing to take his place and start his apprenticeship again. You can come over and work for Nick Bundy Electrical, because I'm sick of him. To be fair, all he did was spend 5 minutes taking the piss out of me, so bollocks to him all anyway. That was on Monday Club on EGT last night, so if you watch out for next week, Nick's going to be on. And after Matthew completes his little task for the show, they have a little chat where I jump off and Sam encourages everyone to bully me. So, look out for that one next week. Cheers for coming on and chatting to us other idiots as well, Nick. So anyway, I'll take you out to the rest of the site outside and have a wander around out there. So here we are back out where it all began, in the main control room, as we call it. So you can see here Matthew's put up a temporary board. So we've got some temporary steel trunking, and we're all ready to finally decommission the last little bits. All the submains off around the rest of the farmyard and outbuildings is disconnected now, but we've still got the old little board in place feeding power to the house because the owners are now occupying, and we want to get everything in place first. So we've they've got a split load board inside with RCDs on it, so they're quite safe. I'm happy with it like that for the time being. And then we can get this lot sorted all in one piece and swap it all over as this installation moves along. So you can see here all the old accessories are still up. There is a clean going on. There's some of the contractors starting, I think it's in November, and it all needs to be stripped. And this is really interesting. I think I showed you it in the last video, but look at that. Yeah, so they've got some contractors coming to start in November, but it all needs cleaning of the old pigeon shit because it's a health hazard. If you haven't worked in and around it before, and you are on a premises with pigeon feces, it's not to be messed with. It's very bad for your health, so make sure that's professionally removed before you expose yourself to it. There was kind of a crossover on this job where I had to go in and disconnect the supply to some of the outbuildings, so you know, it's not a case of you can just ignore it. We had to PPE up and go in and disconnect the electricity because the stripping company wouldn't go in to the building while there was live electrics in there, and you can, because there's live cables dangling around the place. That needs to be made safe before they can do their work. So I was all suited and booted, masked up, and got that done. It was only 5 minutes, and yeah, somebody needs to come and get rid of the birds and clean all the crap up, and then we can start with the bulk of this work in the rest of these buildings and move it along further. So we have got to do a little run down to here because there's a cesspit going in. That's going to obviously take power through the ground, but fortunately the drainage company want to replace all of the drains to the property anyway, so they're going to be digging a nice big trench, and we've asked them to make it nice and wide so we can use it as ourselves as well, so we don't have to get the mini diggers in. You can see here, I'm actually going to go up there in a bit and take some cables across. Matthew's just going to put some conduit up, just local to the board, so we can have a light up for ourselves more than anything. It's not a permanent feature, so this whole wall's coming down eventually, and the steel beams going in, and this is going to be converted to habitable space, so there's no point us going too far with the install in here at present. We just wanted to make sure everyone can work safely, and that seemed like a sensible way of approaching it. So anyway, I hope you found the video useful, and yeah, cheers for watching. We'll drop back in as this moves along. Thanks. So I hope you enjoyed that quick wander around and chat with Matty. He's done a real good job there. He's just on with testing some of his work now, and obviously it's not the finished article, it's an ongoing project, so if you've seen something you don't quite like, it is all going to be checked off and done correctly. I could have gone in there and snagged it now and found all sorts of stuff, I'm sure, but Matthew hasn't finished, and that does his confidence no good. So I'll wait until he tells me he's ready, that he's done and dusted, and we'll have a good check through everything and make sure it's all pucker, which I'm sure it will be. He's had to deal with the customer there on site today, and that's often the hardest part of being an electrician, is when you've got customers in and around you while you're doing your job. He's bonded up the walls there as well, and it's that really old, horrible lime and horsehair plaster that, you know, often crumbles off the wall in massive chunks. He's done a really good job to not have it all fall on him, getting behind that coving as well without it coming off the wall. He knows his stuff, and he's going to be on a bit more with that over the course of the next couple of weeks. We're now waiting on other trades and people to come in and have a bit of a clean up and make sure we can do the next stage of the work safely because of the issues with the pigeons. There's some roof work on the main house that needs doing as well, and we don't want to be in there while that's going on. That's why what we've done now is to just make a safe system for other trades to come in and work, and the actual occupiers need to live there for a short while they get swapped into some other rented accommodation. So, you know, it's just a bridge across for the time being, as I explain in the video. So I hope you found it a bit interesting, and yeah, just having a little bit of banter there with Matthew as well about his chat with Nick last night. It was funny. Anyway, before I go, just a couple of products I want to talk about, and these aren't sponsored. It's nothing to do with that. It's just stuff that I found and like. I like to mention it here and there. This one is the Klein thermometer and volt pen. Obviously, with these, you're not to use them for your safe isolation purposes, but they do have a place for a quick determination if a cable is energized or not. You know, you can often use it on your switch lines and see if they're switching correctly, just to give you a basic indication before you get the proper test instruments out. So I always have one in my pocket, always have done, and this one is the NCVT 4IR, and the IR is because it's an infrared thermometer, and that's -30 to +250 degrees Celsius. And at the moment with COVID, it's quite useful because you can reference check your own temperature and that of the people around you to see if you might have a problem there. Likewise on some electrical switch gear, if you're a bit concerned with some of the temperatures on there, this gives you a basic idea before you get the thermal imaging camera out. Just a nice tool to have in the pocket, and keeps you safe and on the right path, both for COVID and making sure that you've wired your stuff up properly. So there's always that argument with alt pens that they're from the devil and you shouldn't use them, and I do get that. You should definitely not use them to indicate if something's safe to work on, but they do have a place, and I like this one from Klein. So that's Klein tools, and they're distributed by Super Rod in this country. Again, not sponsored, I'm just putting it out there, something I like. And the other one is this one as well, which is another Klein tool. I'm not just a Klein boy, I showed you some weird ones the other day. But this was from Pete Burke and Sons, so if you're not following on Instagram, go and give Pete a follow, because he has an absolute motherload of hand and power tools, and his site work that his lads do is incredible. So if you are following him at the moment, go and give that a watch, because you'll find something on there that you realise you need that you never knew about. And this was one of those things. So I have the Switchblade weir and wearer sets. I have the wearer screwdriver where it carries a case of the bits around and you can swap them in and out, but it's not VDE rated. This one is. It doesn't have a massive range of bits, but for when you're up the steps or something and you realise, I forgot that screwdriver I need, keep one of these in your pocket, as I always do. And the cool thing with it is if you give it a little twist, it pops up, slot it in, and you've got a flat blade on one end and posi drive on the other. So you can save yourself a trip up and down the steps, and when you're an old lazy sod like me, that is gold. So I really like that one. I've only had it a couple of months, and it's only from seeing it on Pete's channel and thinking, Jesus, I need one of these. So yeah, just another Klein Tools one there that I like. But I hope you enjoyed this little ramble, an episode anyway. I'm going to keep the content coming on because, like I said, I want to show the benefits for a small business of employing apprentices and train them through to be qualified electricians. And that's the ethos of Apprentice 1-to-1 at the end of the day, is to find apprentices roles with employers who are keen to help them progress and learn, and to help employers to see the benefits of employing apprentices in the long term. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully there'll be some more videos coming out soon. We'll definitely be back on that job, and I want to show you some of the things I'm on with. We've got a program of 3-phase meters we're on with changing, so that's sub-main, tenanted meters. I've got loads of them to do, so get a few videos there if I can get the permission of the client and drop them on the channel later. Thanks for watching, have a good rest of the day, cheers.